Hi everybody. Happy Thursday. I'm a little distracted by everything that's going on here in New York and around the world right now. This may be a bit of a shorter class, but I'm excited to show you Beat Repeat. It's one of the coolest Ableton and most unique Ableton audio effects, and it's great for adding some random details to our music. And I'm going to show you how it works and then invite you guys to play with it and make something. Cool. I appreciate all of you coming. Okay, so why don't you open a new Ableton session and pop open a Beat Repeat onto an audio track or any track, and we're going to try it on a bunch of different kinds of material. I'm going to start with just some kind of drum loop. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing to do with Beat Repeat, if you want to figure out how it works, is to switch modes. The clearest mode for figuring out what's actually happening is the gate mode. So this just means that it's going to hide the sound of the original drum loop and only play what it's doing. So in gate mode, you're going to hear exactly what the Beat Repeat is adding to your sound. If you do mix, it's going to mix what it's adding with the sound coming through. And insert, it's going to, while it's activated, basically while we're in yellow territory, more about this in a minute, then the Beat Repeat totally takes over, and we only hear what's coming out of the Beat Repeat, but only for, in this case, beat 3. But we want to be in gate mode first, just for maximum clarity of action here. So the Beat Repeat is all about this grid. So we've got repeating periods of time. Right now it's set to 1 bar, but you can set it to something else. And so this is beat 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And when Beat Repeat engages, where it is yellow, it's going to record the sound that's happening there and then play it this many times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll put on the metronome so we can hear how this relates to that. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, recording. So here, right on beat 4, it records, and then it plays what it recorded here, here, here. So since we're in gate mode and we're only hearing what it's playing, then we hear these 3 repetitions of this beat. Cool, so let's talk about how to control this area. We've got the interval, which I said defines how long the cycle of the Beat Repeat being on or off goes. But then you have offset. And so this is how you can determine where within that cycle you want the beat repeat to operate. And the units of this are 16th notes. So right now we're going to hear the very first 16th note of the beat recorded and then played back 3 times in beat 1. If we slide this over to beat 2, now it's going to record whatever's happening in the first 16th note of beat 2 and then repeat it 3 times. So if I do insert mode, where we're hearing everything except where it's yellow, we can tell that it's taking what's happening here in the first 16th note of the second beat and duplicating it. Okay, so the next parameter is the grid, and this is how many slices, how big is the slice it's going to take, and how many times is it going to repeat it. So I'll show you 1 or 2 more things about this and then give you a chance to practice. So if the grid's 8th notes, it's going to record 1/8 note and then play it back for the second 8th note. So recording first, playing second. And variation is how many steps away it's going to do random variations on this grid. So if I have it set to 2 and the grid is 8th notes, then I may sometimes get triplets, 16th notes. I may get 2 steps in this direction or 2 steps in this direction. Cool, so there's our first random variation. We got triplets there. I'm going to do bigger variation spread and we'll get a lot more variety. And what this is varying is this setting. So how big or small are the slices that fill this amount of time? Back to gate mode. And we can hear that each time, well, by random, so not every single time, but we get different divisions of this beat. Cool. Okay, so go ahead and spend 3 minutes playing with these properties. Try the different modes. Try gate and insert specifically. They make it easiest to hear what beat repeat's doing. Try different intervals, try different offsets, try different grids, and visualize musically how what you're hearing is fitting into these divisions of time. If you have it set to 1 bar, each of these is going to be a beat. So think about counting beats as your loop is happening and visually connecting what you're seeing here with what you're hearing. Okay, come on back. Hopefully that's making some sense to you. I'm going to point to you one other aspect of this representation, which is that you can change the length of time that it is in operation with gate. So this is how you can say, I want to take the first 16th note of the second beat and repeat it all of these numbers of times. So that's gate. That's once you I don't know, I'm often forgetting exactly what knob does what, but once you understand the display, then you can just play with visually with these couple of controls how you want beat repeat to operate with regards to time. Okay, let's keep looking at a couple of things here. So chance is the chance that it's going to engage at all. So you could dial this down if you want to do just kind of like occasional variations to your rhythm, or turn it all the way up if you want to guarantee that it's going to engage. You can also force it to engage at any time with the repeat button. So if I were you, I would have fun MIDI mapping this to a control and watch what happens. So I'm going to turn chance down to 0, so it's not going to happen naturally. And then I'm going to hit repeat. Actually, locked in this repeat until I click it again. So this is really great for doing fills, making your own rhythmic variations. And if you were sketching here, I would recommend going to making a new audio track, Command T, setting audio in to resample or from this track, and just record yourself while you are playing around with this. So now I've got a whole recording of all of those rhythmic variations that I could chop up and organize from here. So that's the repeat button. Very fun to play with. why don't you do this? Do this project. Go ahead and make a second audio track. Set its input to resampling. Arm the track. And then play your clip while playing around with the repeat button. Change your gate time. Well, the gate doesn't really matter when you're in repeat mode because it's just going to last as long as you have this down. But play with the grid, play with the variations, and I think those are the things that are in operation when you hit repeat. So do this and record yourself a variations track. I'll give you 3 minutes for this. How'd that go? Were you able to make a recording of you playing with the repeat button? Let me show you a couple more things about this, and then we'll play some more. So, next is the pitch area. So this is going to detune anything that the beat repeat produces. And this is going to detune sequentially each iteration. So watch this. If I've got my, let's see, I'm starting on beat 2 of a, I've got my bar as my cycle, my grid as 16th notes, slices. So here it's going to transpose down everything the same amount in semitones. But here, I enjoy more. I don't know why they say over in the help, the most obscure parameter of beat repeat. They say that exact sentence in the documentation as well. I don't think it's obscure. I think it is useful in lots of situations. So you can hear it detuning sequentially each following note. Let's do a really extreme version. Fun. So that's pitch and pitch decay. If you're just catching up, make sure that you're in insert or gate mode, which is going to help you hear much more clearly what's going on with the beat repeat than mix mode, where it mixes together what's in the beat repeat, what's coming out of the beat repeat, and the original sample. Although it's in mix mode that you're probably going to use it the most in your pieces, because we get the beat continuing to go while it's adding these details. You can change the volume of the repetitions when you're in mix mode relative to, this is just the volume on the output of it. So you can make it louder. Or softer. Now those variations are really in the background. Okay, take a couple of minutes and play with pitch, pitch decay, and compare what you're doing in insert, gate, and mix mode, just to get a better handle on the 3 different modes there. Then we'll come back and talk about the filter and decay and think about some different applications for beat repeat. Hey, big thanks to Semyon, just made a donation. Appreciate it. One minute warning. And thanks to Matt. Appreciate it. Okay, welcome back. So, there's a filter on it. So this is a good way to help create a distinct color for the sounds coming out of the beat repeat that'll make it a little more audible. If you're just mixing in let's use our gate again. If you're just mixing in repetitions of the beat from the beat repeat, if you're just mixing them in to your original beat, and they have exactly the same sound, it might just kind of clutter things up without making a distinct second layer, you know? So this is something that the filter is good for. So this is basically the same diagram as EQ8. We've just got a single band pass filter. Here's an XY grid for controlling it. You can pull up to make it wider, down to make it narrower, and slide the frequency range here. So if we're just listening to the gated version, we hear that I've now filtered out lots of the lows here. So if I then mix it in, the fills can stand out a little bit more. So you could maybe want to go the other direction too. Just to create a little more contrast within the sound. So last I want to show you Decay, which just makes each of the repetitions fade away. So this gives you more of kind of an echo effect. So I'm into this suggestion from QBird to start macroing these things together in an effects rack. And let's see, I'm going to give you a little bit more time to practice with this, but then we're going to get into that. I haven't really talked about racks much at all, even though I use them all the time and they're super useful. I'm kind of like leaving them for their own class. But there's a really cool kind of rack that you can build with a bunch of beat repeats that let you do this repetition, this kind of improvised repetition thing at different time scales. So we're going to make one of those next. And then, yeah, QBird, if you have suggestions for other ways to link up these controls into macros, we can try those out too. Yeah, take 2 more minutes. Just play with anything that you haven't played with yet. Try the filter, try decay, um, try different chances. Maybe try a small interval. We've been doing everything in bar units, but yeah, try smaller values here, and more random. Yeah, how to macro the beat repeat. Cool, we'll do that next. But yeah, spend a couple of minutes now playing with anything that you haven't played with yet. I guess the only other thing that I haven't pointed you to are these two controls for the variations. This one eliminates triplets, so it'll keep everything eighth notes, quarter notes, 16th notes, 32nd notes, whatever, and not do triplets. And then these are different ways that variations can change while they're happening. If you set it to 16th notes, it'll do a different variation on the grid every 16th note. If you do auto, it'll do a different variation of the grid for every single slice that it takes. So play with these things, see if you can clear up any questions that you have, and then we will play with macros. Okay, cool. Let's talk about racking this. So, if you haven't thought about racks before, you've probably used them. So there's drum racks, instrument racks, audio effects racks and MIDI effects racks. And these are just kind of ways to group effects and map your own controls for them. So for the beat repeat, we're going to put it in a rack, which you can easily do by selecting any effects that you want and doing group. Control click and saying group or Command G. And now it's in a rack, and we can open up the rack controls over here on the left. We have chains in the middle, which let you put multiple streams of effects and control between them in different ways. But over here is what we're going to work with first. So these are macro knobs, and we can connect multiple of these knobs to single ones of these knobs, making complex changes between effects really easy. And this is really great for live performance situations where you might have a controller that only has 4 knobs, but you want each knob to do lots of different things. So mapping these things, yo, Amadeus. Mapping is easy. You just control click on a control and say map to macro, and then whichever one you want to do. Like that. And then you can do multiple ones that way. So QBird sent me a cool effect, and I want to try it out, see how it works, and then build it from scratch. So we're going to listen to this other track. Cool, so what's happening here? We can see what the mappings are by clicking map up here. So we've got our grid control mapped to this one knob, going its full range. Oh no, going from quarter notes to 64th notes. We have to the same knob mapped up here the on-off button for this, for the whole beat repeat. And we have mapped the repeat button to this. So when we turn it, watch what happens. Right now, with it down to 0, beat repeat, the effect is turned off, and repeat is turned off. But as soon as I turn it on, just turn this knob a little bit, then it turns on and repeat turns on. So we flip this switch and we start repeating whatever was the last sound that it heard, and repeating it in 8th note units at this point, or whatever. So I'm just going to walk us through building that exact same thing here. Interval doesn't matter because we're not using the interval offset chance gate matrix kind of idea to determine when it operates. The repeat button is going to determine when it operates, and that's going to override all of this. So repeat, map to macro 1. Let's see if it works properly. Okay, right now it's only turning on when I get to this point. So you can go into the mappings by hitting map here and changing how the ranges are mapped. I'm just going to try going 0 to 127. Now it seems to be on just the whole time. So what if I do 1 to 127? I think now it'll be on when I'm in this range and off when I'm out of this range. So now it's off because I'm at 0. Now it's on because I'm anywhere in this range. So I've mapped the beat repeat button to this knob and set it to go from 1 to 127. So 0 is off, 1 to 127 is on. Next, I'm going to do the same thing for the effects being on or off. Map to repeat. Let's see how it works. I have to turn it up pretty far for it to kick on, so I need to change the mapping range to the same thing, 1 to 127. And now 0 is off, and 1 to 127 is on. And last, I'm going to map grid to macro 1. So this is working a little contrary-wise to your expectation. You probably expect as you turn it up for it to get faster. So again, that's something that we can change by hitting map and looking up here, grid, the macro called grid, which really we should change to like repeat. The low value we want to be something slow, like quarter notes, and the high value we want to be something fast, like 64th notes. So go ahead and spend a minute mapping these couple of things, and I'll leave this up so you can compare your ranges to my ranges. Ready, set, go. Okay, let's do one more example of creating an effects rack with beat repeats in it. So this is something I've seen. Just trying to visualize it real fast. Okay, so this will be with multiple chains. I'm going to start again with a fresh beat repeat, and I'm going to have this repeat 16th notes whenever I hit the repeat button. And insert mode, so it replaces what we're hearing with what's coming out of the beat repeat. Cool, so now we're going to turn this into a rack by hitting Command G to group it. And so we've got this beat repeat. I'm going to call it repeat 16ths. And I'm going to call this chain 16ths. That's maybe more useful here. So we're going to make multiple chains here of beat repeats that repeat at different grid amounts. So I'm going to do one that's 8th notes, 1/8. I'm going to do one, so I'm just doing Command D to duplicate. This one, let's do 8th note triplets, which is 12th notes. I'm going to call this 8 triplets. I'm going to do another one, Command D, for, let's do 32nd notes. Set this one. And I want to turn variation down on all of these so we get exactly what we are asking for and not perhaps some random variation from them. Okay, so how do you use multiple chains? At the moment, all of these are on. So we're actually getting a lot more signal because we're getting multiplications of all the signals from here. I'm going to do a couple of other things too. I'm going to turn off chance on all of these so that it only operates in repeat mode. And let's talk about chains. So if you hit chain up here, you can specify a range for each of these chains, and then you can map this slider to slide through the different ranges to a macro. So there's an easy way to spread them all out evenly. You can pull out the whole range on one of them and then control click and say distribute ranges equally. Boom. And now this slider is going to determine which of the chains the sound is going to go through. So right now, nothing's happening because repeat is off. Let's put repeat on all of these. I guess you have to hit repeat while it's playing, which makes sense. So let me map this repeat to this knob here. No, I'm getting a little, yeah, let's do, okay. So mapping repeat to macro 1. Now I want to hit my map button and give it that range that we said before was good, 1 to 127. And I'm going to repeat this. Oh, check it out. Actually, this is a thing that your Ableton probably doesn't do. It's from options.txt. If you're interested in an automatic way to do this, learn about options.txt. I'm putting in the chat. There's some kind of secret Ableton controls that you can activate. But okay, so mapping all of these repeats to my first knob. Oops, I want one knob. And then going into my map controls and setting them all to 1 to 127. Okay, so now when I put this on, all of these chains are going to activate, but which one we hear is going to be controlled by this. So here we go. I'm playing. And now if I turn this, it'll pick between my eighth notes. Because there wasn't sound flowing through in the first place. This isn't working the way I expect. Change of plans. I didn't plan this obviously before. I'm going to say this one has a chance of 100. We're going to skip the repeat thing. It has a chance of 100 and an interval of 16th notes and a long gate, so it's basically always in operation. Okay, so this one is doing that. This one, let's change from a repeat to just a high chance of something long happening at the, eighth note level, fine. Cool. This one, we'll do the same thing. Let's have it be repeating, 12th notes. Restarting off and I guess long streams with gate. Cool. And then let's do one more. So these are our 32nd notes. Skip the repeat deal and just say we're gonna always be doing that. Okay, so just to zoom out, I've just made multiple chains that all have different sounds to them. You know, these could all be different beat repeats, or this one could be reverb, this one could be dry, this one could be distorted, this one could be phased or whatever. So you can put any string of effects into each of these chains and then navigate between them with this slider. So then to control this slider, you can map it to a macro. So I'm going to say map to macro 1. And I can use this to choose between my different effects chains. And you can blend between these layers as well. So if you want to crossfade things, you can just have them overlap in their range and then slide this top bar. And this creates kind of a crossfade deal. So now we're going to be crossfading as we slide from here to here. The top one's volume is going down as the bottom one's volume is going up. And yeah, so these could be different whole effects vibes on each of these. Maybe that's got the filter delay. Maybe this has redux. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so you could map this slider to an LFO. That's a cool idea. I'll show you my default audio effect rack that I made. Has a dry-wet knob. So there's a dry chain and a wet chain, and I can put all my effects in the wet chain, and they're set up to crossfade across the whole range, where now it's all dry, now it's all wet. This is good practice. I just saw lots of people building these effects racks doing it this way. So I saw a question about feedback. I think the best way to get good quality attention of mine on your music is to book a lesson. So I do one-on-one lessons. There's a link down below. We could meet for 10 minutes for free for a first time if you want to see what that's like. I do love hearing y'all's music, but I can't keep up with all of it all the time. So if you want to make sure that I'm paying good attention, and yeah, the best way to do that is just to book some time with me. Okay, so that is your introduction to beat repeat and to effects racks and building your own multiple chain effects racks or your multi-mapped macro effects racks like the first one that we did. I'm trying to remember the cool thing that I was trying to build here. I think that it was a different knob for each note value, and probably when you turn the knob, it kicks on the repeat button. Oh no, they were buttons. So, I mean, they were knobs like this, but they were supposed to be mapped to buttons. So I could push one button on my controller and it would kick on the repeat and a certain rhythmic value, so that I could just like instantly add repeat 30-second notes with one button and 16th notes with another button and 8th notes with another button. And that was super useful. I'll show you this crossfade thing again with Root. It's this smaller gray bar on top. So you just need to make overlapping regions in the chain selector, and then drag the edges of this higher bar to create a fade in and a fade out. Yeah. And of course, once you build something cool that you like in an effects rack, just the same as once you get a setting here that you like on any effect, make liberal use of your floppy disk icon to save a preset. And I recommend putting your initials up front or something distinguishing so that you can find your presets easily. Building a library of presets, you can always sit down and, even if you aren't feeling creative about making a track or writing notes and rhythms, you could just find a cool reverb setting that you like, or find a good combination of a couple of effects that create a vibe that you like. Put them into an effects rack, save it for later. The more that you can refer and use things that you yourself have built, the more unique and personal sound that you're going to have. So I encourage you to sometimes do writing sessions, but sometimes just build yourself an effect rack, or find, make yourself an operator setting that you like, and work on building your own library of sounds. Cool. So thanks so much, everybody, for coming and checking out Beat Repeat. Hope you guys are doing okay out there. You can help keep these classes rolling by making a donation down below or just spreading the word. You know, it's very exciting for me when lots of people come to these things. So if you can help keep it growing, that keeps this really fun and exciting for me as well. So yeah, thanks for coming. Keep in touch. I do lessons on Fridays. I know I'm going to see a couple of you tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. And now I'm going to go back to writing my dissertation. So wish me luck. And I will see you guys. So Saturday, we're going to look at a project by Qbird, who has done a bunch of stuff with kind of randomness and effects racks and things. So come on back Saturday at 1 p.m. and we will kind of cap out this week of randomness. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you. Bye. Gabriella, yes, I am actually doing it. I have written 20 pages this week. Woo! Okay, bragging over. Thanks. Bye.